Bill DeFoi. Welcome back in here to News Junkies. And joining me once again is our travel guide to the unknown, our very own and very lovely Michelle Hubbard. And Michelle, as always, a pleasure.
Thank you, Bill. Pleasure for me too.
Wonderful. Listen, we're going to be talking about personas today.
Right.
And I have no clue what we're going to be talking about. So I'm going to kind of let you ask whatever or make a statement and we'll go from there.
Okay, great. I thought I would talk about personas because we think of a persona as being, you know, some aspect of a personality trait of ours. And originally, in Latin, a persona is a mask. And it's a mask that actors would put on before they went on stage. And as you and I are taping this, we're a few days away from Halloween, when a lot of people are wearing masks. And I thought, let's talk about personas today.
All right, very good. And we do have masks all around us, but we can't see
Oh
them.
my gosh, you guys, this place looks awesome today.
So, anyway, a mask. So a different mask for different sides of one personality?
I think of personas as being a belief system that we created when we were really, really young. And they become a part of how we act, who we think we are, even as adults. But they're our friends. They aren't something we have to think in terms of fighting with, like sometimes we think we have to fight with our ego. And they're also maybe inhibiting us from growing into our full potential, holding us back because there was a time in our lives when maybe we didn't want to be seen or we didn't want to be big because we'd get in trouble, or we were told something like, you know, you shouldn't get too big for your britches, or, you know, once we started school, going from our families, all of a sudden if we didn't fit in and do how everyone else was doing, then we were made fun of, or these days even bullied. So we have these traits, or you know, to get more comfortable and familiar with them, maybe even think of them as parts of ourselves. And what we do in my coaching is to actually kind of bring them to life and embrace them and include them and become friends with them. But for example, I've identified with myself that I have various aspects of not good enough.
Okay.
And that's a fundamental belief that holds me back, and one of my personas that will hold me back because I don't think I'm good enough is a little fighter girl. And my jaw will come out, my neck will stick out, and it happens a lot when I'm, of all things, in the process of getting like tech support. But I resist it because I don't think I'm good enough because I have the problem in the first place. So knowing that, oh, little fighter girl's up, we feel scared because we don't feel good enough, helps me to calm down, not be the dragon lady with the tech support person. But it took me close to 60 years to even identify that this whole process is what was going on.
And you're not a day over 27, so. Anyway, I would imagine that there are ways that people can identify what persona or personas that they might have.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that I do is a persona interview.
Okay, I have a feeling she's going to be doing a persona interview with me.
Would you be willing?
I would be totally willing.
Is there?
I think.
Well, can you identify some persona, some way of believing that is kind of automatic for you, and you maybe feel you'd like to get to know better to see? Because underneath it all, these personas that are so protective of us also have a gift. And for example, me and my fighter girl, when I am able to kind of let her go off to a corner and take a nap, all of a sudden I realize, hey, I'm better at technology than I thought I was. I'm following exactly what this person is trying to tell me to do, and I have now more confidence. Not total confidence. Me and technology are not the best of friends and never will be, but I'm at least willing to learn and engage with it rather than being so scared and resisting. So I'm a long way of getting to there might be a gift underneath what the persona is bringing.
Well, I know one of the traits that I have, and I went through a situation with one of my service providers, and it was one where I was very insistent that something take place because of what I had been told with a previous customer service representative. And as a result, I wound up spending not only the initial time on the telephone with my service provider for this particular service, but an additional 5 hours total, not including the initial call,
Oh my gosh.
to kind of trace down what was going on. And I was bounced back and forth between departments. No, you need to speak here. No, you need over here. No. And I finally told one operator, I said, you know what? I don't want to be a ping pong ball.
Wow.
And, you know, you brand yourself as one company. And I said, think of it as a department store. You walk into a department store and you've got different departments. You've got sporting goods, men's clothes, women's clothes, boys' clothes, girls' clothes, shoes, accessories, but only one customer service desk to handle the questions for all of the different departments out on the floor, plus any credit questions that you might have, catalog questions. You have one source to get the information. And they were saying, well, we have 2 separate divisions, this side of the house, that side of the house, and they're not really talking to one another. At the end of the day, I finally got what I had set out to do, and my suggestion to them, amongst 3, there were 3 suggestions I made. First of all, they put a customer service number on their website. Number 2, on their phone tree, you ask for a customer service representative. And number 3, that no matter who you called, you would get the same level of service no matter what side of the house you were on. So that was my encounter.
Well, I noticed that my little fighter girl already wants to come up and be nasty to them. So, and I wasn't even part of that call. Wow, what an experience.
Yeah. So normally, you know me well enough, Michelle, that I'm pretty happy-go-lucky.
And mellow, I would say.
And mellow, yes,
Yeah.
very mellow. Sometimes I'm very comfortable just sitting off into the corner and, nice seeing you. Take care. Bye.
Watching,
And just kind of watching
the show.
I'm a people watcher. And so
I thought you were going to say a peeping Tom.
no,
So.
not that.
Not that kind
Certainly
of watching.
Not that kind of watching, but I do watch people and how they interact with one another. And yes, I'm fairly mellow. I concur with that wholeheartedly. But when it comes to getting a level of service, there's that side of me that kind of raises up and say, look, I'm not going to be taken advantage of.
Wow. And do you feel that this is a persona, or is there some other persona you think you might want to have interviewed and get to know
Well,
better?
let's look at other personas.
Yeah, because to me that sounds like a strength and a kind of ownership of value.
Right, and it was more about the principle than anything else, and I'm one that believes in fighting for and obtaining the principle of the matter.
Yeah. So maybe you have a persona that's a principal fighter for her.
That could very well be.
But in terms of your own self, do you think you have a persona that you would like to explore?
I would say probably a bashful side.
A bashful side.
Believe it or not, I am very bashful. Before I got into this business called broadcasting, and I've been around for a number of years, I was closer to the wall than wallpaper, quite literally.
Wow.
I was very, very shy. And to some extent, I'm still very shy, believe it or not. Although I can get out and socialize and mingle, but there are times when it is somewhat uncomfortable. But I fight through that so that, you know, it doesn't send a message that I'm being standoffish. I'm not. It's just there are certain situations where I can be a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. So would you like to have your bashful side interviewed?
Let's have the bashful side.
Okay. First of all, what would be the name of this persona?
Well, for the lack of a better term, let's go with bashful. I think
Bashful.
one of the 7 dwarfs.
Okay. And now, is there some way that you arrange your body when you're feeling bashful? Is there some sort of a posture or way of sitting when bashful is kind of taking over?
Well, I tend to sit off into the corner, as I've mentioned.
Okay.
And I just kind of duck down a little bit.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and do that so that you're completely bashful?
All right, I'm completely bashful.
Okay, there you are. Bashful, what's the most important thing to you?
I think as bashful, I would say.
No, you are bashful.
I am bashful. All right. I would say then isolation.
Isolation. And what are you most proud of, bashful?
My ability to observe.
And bashful, when did you make your first appearance?
Probably as a young child.
And bashful, what was going on then?
In the neighborhood I grew up in, and this is long before I ever moved to Ventura County, I lived on a block, and we had a bunch of kids a little bit older than myself, and I was always referred to as Little Bill or Billy. And Billy, I don't like Billy.
Yeah, okay. And who did you learn your style from, bashful?
I would probably say Mom, only because she was a very shy and unassuming woman.
Bashful, what are you most afraid of?
I would say probably the fear of rejection.
Bashful, what do you most want?
Acceptance.
Thank you, bashful. You can step back
Okay.
and allow Bill to come front
All
and
right.
center. Now, see, I'm seeing two different ways of being for you between bashful and, okay, I'm back as Bill now. So, yeah, I can see where that's true for you.
Yes, and it is very true. I mean, there are times that, yes, I'd love just to sit off in the corner. And I've been at events where I'll find a table way off in the corner, and people would say, come on over here and join us. And it's like, no, I'm fine. And they'd say, but come on. And depending on where I'm at, who I'm with, and who's making up that group of people, I may elect just to stay there and say, I'm fine, just go away. Or I might join them. It just really depends on the situation.
Were there any insights that came to you as you were more fully embodying bashful and speaking as that?
Again, that's probably from the perspective of observing people and seeing what, just to kind of get the lay of the land. And there was one group that I was with, I stayed in the back of the room. It was the very first time that I had been involved with this particular group of people, although some of them I already knew, but there were many that I did not. And I wanted to see the dynamics going on in the room, so I opted to stay in the back. So if I ever were to be a part of that group again, I might consider getting a little bit more involved until my comfort level is such where then I can incorporate myself into the group.
When we did the interview, were there any insights that you gained from that as bashful or as listening to bashful kind of come front and center?
One of the things that always comes front and center is always that fear of rejection. Looking for acceptance. And, you know, growing up, and God bless my dad, bless his soul, may he rest in peace. But I could, you know, as a child growing up, I never thought I was quite good enough for his level of expectation.
Yeah. I really resonate with the fear of rejection. And especially once I entered elementary school, I was never, even then I wasn't popular. Even then I was someone who kind of got teased and made fun of. And I have all of these stories about being, like you said, isolated from the group, not part of the other kids or the classroom experience. And I see where that's kept me quiet. And I find to be at this new place in my life where here I am being willing to be in front of a camera, being with you every other week, talking, asking questions is such a big shift for me. And I feel happy I've done it, and I feel absolutely terrified.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. In all honesty, now we've been doing this now for several months, and I've got to tell you, you're a natural.
Really?
You are a natural when it comes to this.
Oh my gosh. I'm surprised.
You shouldn't be. I mean, we get very positive feedback from our segments together, and you're charming, you're delightful, very attractive, and all of these go into making what we do a success, and the information that you bring to the table is a unique approach to life. And a lot of people, because they've never really stopped to think about things, you give them something to consider and to ponder, and that's the takeaway that I have.
Wow, thank you. And
So there's for your bashful side.
yeah, I'm noticing that my humble side is like, I can't speak, I don't know what to say. And I feel so happy to be seen and received that way, because it's from including this really shy, quiet, how invisible can I be part of me that I've been willing to at least take the step and give it a try. Now, how did you and Bashful become friendly enough that you're willing to have made a career out of being out in front of public?
Well, I've been doing this since I was 16. Here's the story, very, very quickly. And by the way, before I tell the story, the comment that I get about you and I is that there's great chemistry between us.
Oh, how fun!
So
I'm
I love
happy
it.
we
I
have
love it.
chemistry.
I love it. So here's a story in a nutshell. Back when I was 13, 14 years of age, I had a speech teacher, and the way I got into a speech class was the counselor said the junior high, we called them junior high schools back then, not middle school, junior high school.
Right.
And the counselor said, you need to come out of your shell, Bill. And I'm going, no, I don't. Yes, you do. No, you don't. No, I don't. Yes, you do. No, I don't. And he recommended a speech class, speech and drama.
Oh, okay.
So I was put into this 8th grade speech/drama class, and I had a wonderful instructor, and she said, you know what, Bill? You have such a developed voice for your age. I want you to meet somebody. Have you ever thought about doing radio?
Oh my goodness.
Well, Mom always said I had a perfect face for radio. So I said, no, I hadn't really considered it. She said, I have this friend who is in the business. He does his shows out of his home because he has polio and can't drive around, and the station that he works for is down in Santa Barbara. But he lives in Solvang.
Oh,
Well, if you know about Solvang, it's a nice Danish community. You know, outside of the city of Santa Barbara, you have to go quite a ways, but it's there. And it's a beautiful Danish community, and my dad loves Solvang. We discovered it one time during the summer, and he fell in love with it. So when I went home and presented this to Mom and Dad, and the teacher also talked to Mom and Dad says, you know what, let me think about it. I have to go to, yeah, we'll go to Solvang. because he knew that he could go and get a good cup of coffee, have
yummy pastries.
Yummy pastries, read his paper. He was as happy as a fish in water. I mean, he loved it. I went to this man's house. That's where he did his broadcast from. And back in the day, he would also be Hans Christian Andersen during Danish days.
Oh my goodness.
This was way back when. So, here's the deal. I went to his house, and he started me on a career path. He said, what do you know about radio? And I said, somewhere between nothing and nil. And so he walked with me on this journey for about a year and a half, did the mentoring, and at the end of it, I was able to get my very first broadcast job, not in radio, but in television.
Wow.
I was doing a panel show for the high school because there was a group of us that would come from each of the high schools here in Ventura County, come to the studio, talk about our individual activities on our campuses. Well, the show was canceled in about 13 weeks because of lack of sponsorship.
Oh.
But the owner had come to me and he said, you know what, you really are a natural.
Wow.
How would you like to come and do sports for me?
Oh.
And I went, let me think about it. Yes. So I began doing that, and eventually I was able to move to the anchor desk and do the news. And I was just sharing with you before we were doing the videotaping, at the age of 16, back in the day, you would find my name in the TV guide back in the day, not the newspaper.
The
but
real TV
the
guide.
real TV guide. And that is what kind of propelled me into this business. And from there, I went into radio and have done both radio and television now for some 48 odd years.
Wow. So the grip of Bashful was really loosened for you back then.
Yes.
And something that I'm really appreciating about that entire experience was the way it was something that would be so pleasurable for your dad as well.
And my dad was ecstatic. My son is doing television. Watch him.
And I get to go to Solvang.
And I get to go. Yeah, it was a good thing. And my dad and the owner of the company became very good friends. And I come to find out later, this was a man very influential in the Hollywood community.
Oh my goodness.
And he was a publicist. That was his trade. And when he got out of doing the television station, he went back to that, worked in the major film studios, and on occasions I would call him up and I'd say, "Hi, I'm going to be in town. Well, come on by the office, let's do lunch." And we'd go over to the Fox commissary, or we'd go over to MGM and have lunch in the commissary. And of course, you'd see all the different movie stars and celebrities walk through, and it's like, wow.
Oh, that'd be so fun.
And my dad, busting buttons.
Yeah.
So I found favor with Dad.
So there's a real benefit to making friends with our personas. It helps us to step out and be seen by people, sometimes on radio, on television, in interviews, and who knows what can open up from it.
Exactly. And so the opportunities have abounded, and I've been doing this, like I said, for 40 some odd years, almost 50 now. And it's really amazing to see from where I started to where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And recently got into a situation where I'm back into radio again, and it's just been a natural fit.
It's beautiful. And what I see happening is when we are willing to embrace this persona rather than try and pretend it isn't there or fight with it, what we're actually doing is becoming more authentically to ourselves. And the funny thing is, when we show up as who and what we truly are, gosh, do we receive great acceptance.
Exactly. And for that bashful side, this is one way to counteract that bashfulness, because, you get recognized every now and then, and people go, "Oh my gosh, you're the guy. Oh, wow, ooh." And it's like, no. I put my pants on one leg at a time, just like you. The only difference is I'm in front of a camera or in front of a microphone.
Yeah. And I also feel that this bashful side is something that makes you very comfortable to be with, be around someone who isn't real scary. You feel very safe and friendly.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. And I try to remain true to who I am by not having the big ego or anything like that, simply because I've seen what that can do to some of my colleagues and friends that are in the business, and they can become very standoffish and, push people away, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah. And we have these personas that'll fill different roles for us, especially when we were younger. There were personas who were very protective, or maybe when we stepped into the persona, for example, one that I have is the good girl. And, as the good girl, I can get certain acceptance into, like a family circle. Okay, yes, back then when I would say with my grandparents, "Yes, Shelley, you can stay up and watch TV with us," because I was the quiet little good girl just being up watching TV with Grandma and Grandpa. We also have personas that are really purely from our essence, from this way of being that's us, big, bright as our best. And, when you combine a bashful with, this media star that you have in you, gosh, what a complete package that turns out to be. And we all have this, it's what's part of so amazing about being willing to own who and what all of us is, including sometimes what feels like a flaw, and seeing, gosh, but it's trying to protect me and combining that with these other parts of me makes me somebody really special.
Well, when you talk about the flaws, I think of the old Mac Davis tune, and it's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way.
Love Mac Davis.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was a great entertainer.
Yeah.
So, again, personas do have a role, and there is an importance to our personas.
Yeah.
And from what I'm gathering from you today is that it's good to understand our personas and to be comfortable within that persona.
Right, right. And to make friends with them. Awareness, becoming aware that there may be some way of being that was created back in childhood that's rather automatic for us and might be something we want to have not be quite so automatic, more chosen. And then including it in a way that allows us to even be more completely who and what we really are. Very powerful presence we are at that moment.
And what would you define as where we can determine what is our persona? Is there a method by which people can determine that?
One way is that you can tell you're in a persona when you're feeling a kind of a sense of urgency. And when there's this, I've got to get this done, I've got to act this way, if I don't do this, then this. We see things as more black and white from a persona. There's only an either or, there's no middle ground, there's no choices. When we're doing something and we notice that I always do it this way, that's a bit of a flag to say, and I wonder if this could be from a persona who I created either to protect myself or to get some sort of a reward way back when I was little. And a lot of times it is, and at that point, take an interview of it. Hey, what do you have for me? You can even make up your own questions. Get to know it and then include it and say, well, if I need to be bashful, boy, I sure know I can fall back on that easily. And I'm kind of willing to be brave right now.
Can personas be described as maybe a wall around a person?
I don't like to think of it as being that thick. I like the image of a mask. Something that I can choose to put on, something that I can choose to put aside, and something that I'm aware I'm hiding behind. A wall feels like something that I'm going to have to do work to get rid of, and that someone's going to have to maybe even fight to get through to get to me. And I like to feel that things are a lot more spacious between me and my life.
So with that mask then, you have the ability to control whether that mask stays up or if it comes down.
Right, right. And that's why I think being aware of it, being conscious of it, and then choosing is the way to focus on it. And a lot of times, and I know you've mentioned this before as well, when I go to a gathering, I put on my shy mask. And I'm, just kind of looking and seeing and listening and, kind of walking around, almost seeing how invisible can I be. And then there comes the moment, okay, now I have the lay of the land, now I'm, ready to show up. I'm becoming aware of the mask and either choosing or not choosing to put it on. And gosh, that's a much nicer feeling than automatically anywhere new I walk into, I got to be shy and quiet and invisible.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Michelle, as always, I want to have you give out your contact information, let people know how they can get a hold of you, and your website and phone number, if you would, please.
Yeah, thank you. My website has finally come up and is really looking polished, and so I would love to have you check it out, give me feedback. It's michelleforyou.com, and my email address is michellehubbard, the number 4 and the letter U at gmail.com, and my phone number is area code 805-814-6884.
Wonderful. Michelle Hubbard, our travel guide to the unknown. We thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll have you back.
So much fun.
We'll have you back very soon. And I'm Bill DeFoi. You're watching News Junkies, a production of the Heritage Media Group.